welcome to another edition of Artists of the Chippewa Valley. I am your host, Karen Kraus. This is the one venue where we feature local artists right here living and working in the Chippewa Valley. Some have full-time jobs, some are trying to make it on their own as an artist, and they're spending a lot of time doing that. This is the one place where we can showcase that talent. With us today, we have a very special guest, Steve Bateman. Thank you for being with us. I'm sure some people recognize your name because you've sort of hit the spotlight here in Eau Claire. The sculpture tour, I think, is one of the biggest things that a lot of people have recently gotten to know you for.
Well, I'd say my own personal sculpture tour. I really like what the sculpture tour that was brought in has done, because it makes people more aware of public art and getting used to seeing things in public and having that sort of respect for it. I had a piece that was going in there, but it didn't quite make it. It had some damaged issues on the way to being installed and deemed unsafe for the too fragile for the public.
Okay.
So I stuck that in a local restaurant downtown, but the pedestal remains empty. But I have other pieces around town, and I'm not really too broken up about that. I mean, like I said, I'm glad that it's here, but I think we're more of like parallel than together. So.
Well, one of the pieces, CTV is right here in Banbury Place, and you have a piece that's actually on the top of Banbury that sort of overlooks the river.
Yep, that's a piece I built starting in 2003. It was commissioned by the Minnesota DNR, and it was built out of Mississippi River garbage.
Really?
Yep. And then, so it has come apart, gone back together, and finally, I really like the resting spot it has. But over time and seasons, it has definitely broken down a little bit.
Wear and tear.
I thank Patty Saigon for her patience with me, but it's coming back together. I removed the head actually, and the neck, and and it's working on in my backyard.
It's a swan, right?
Yeah, it's a tundra swan.
Okay.
And the idea is that I'm going to fix it up and put it back, and it's going to look really pretty. You know, much nicer than it did before. But still, it's not really a nice thing. It's not it's a message. It's not just a pretty duck, or a goose, whatever people want to call it.
It's funny that you say that it's a pretty piece of art, and I'm sure that's how people see it, but it's made from things that aren't very pretty.
Right, like a lot of things having to do with recreation along the rivers, and like parts of all this foam stuff from like floats and things, and cans and bottles, and there's a toilet seat in it. There's this cool orange stop sign thing that I used, curled around and made it for the beak.
Okay.
Garbage cans and cooler parts. So it's like it's kind of like just trying to remind people to respect the waters,
Mm-hmm.
And it looks a little bit ticked off
because of it.
Yeah.
Did you actually go out and collect all this stuff yourself?
Yeah, for this particular piece, it was with this guy. His name is Chad Pergracki. He's been in the Smithsonian Magazine for doing river cleanups and stuff. He got involved in the Minnesota DNR project, the Adopt a River. So, and this is the furthest out piece. Like, they do this every year. This is the furthest piece outside of Minneapolis that there is a piece from that, and that still exists. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And I will be putting together a tour of all the pieces I have around the Chippewa area.
Okay.
And most of them are from recycled material. Lot of metal stuff. And but yeah, that'd be just kind of like a simple Google map or something that has a little lollipops, so you can find your way around. But yeah, so that's coming together.
Okay.
I think it's funny. I think a lot of people know of me and and my friend Jason Anhorn, who also, he runs the art festival in town.
Okay.
But we started here like 10, 12 years ago drawing caricatures at the Oakwood Mall.
Wow.
And just doing that. And that, it's sustainable to an extent. And then there's other things I do as well. Like it's just, the list goes on. But it's like, rather than list all that off, I'm kind of trying to get more focus these days. Really punctuate the sculpture and continue to work with that. I mean, I've worked with just solid steel pieces too, but with the recycled material, it's so deep just looking at a piece. There's so much more than just the object.
Mm-hmm. So let's back up. How did you get started in the first place? Were you a creative kid? Were you out in the garage tinkering around with things? What inspired you to get into doing all of this?
Art or sculpture or what?
Both.
Art I've just always been into. My dad's a painter. I've always been to museums and sculpture parks or whatever, just always interested in that which kind of that stands out in this world, that kind of makes you think a little more deeply about it. And it's and it could be entertaining, and it could be educational. It could be just a goofy thing you don't even know what it looks like, that was dropped out of an alien ship. I think that's great. It's inspiring, and it's. I was really focused on painting a lot and stuff in high school, and then went off to college as a painter, and then came to a point where I started doing some sculpture, just metal stuff, and then that seemed to be. You sometimes find a medium that calls to you more than another, mm-hmm. because not just because you can really work with it, it's because it actually connects with people far more than the other one does. Like, I've definitely done printmaking, photography, all that other stuff, but it's like this. So I ran out of money while going to school in Minneapolis.
Gee, that doesn't sound familiar to anyone out there.
So I found an unlicensed junkyard, and I just started pulling stuff from it and building pieces. And those pieces were really, they were highly looked upon. Sold a few, and I mean in the museum, like the Walker, they're more like, oh, assemblage, that's so done, in a sense, and I'm like, not how I'm doing it.
So you've got your own special touch that you put a spin on everything that you're creating.
I like to put a spark of life into my work, where it looks like there's an actual feeling or emotional tie, to it that people can relate with, whether it's some sort of a creature, animal, or figurative piece, and not limiting it to that. Like I did make a ship one time, a big old huge clipper, or like a pirate ship type of thing. But it's like the things that interest me more is like when you look at something and you can relate to it, in a sense, on a like a human condition level. Mm-hmm. So, animal, figure, or whatever it is, even if it's just some. I liked it as actually able to. You can almost make up a story about it yourself. You don't even know like why this animal or that figure. It's just, well, I have my reasons why I create stuff, and but if it's done well, it should connect on a universal level, in a sense.
So you're hoping for an emotional connection to all of your pieces from people who are viewing them.
Well, I think so. But it's also, it's not just like a glimmer in the eye or an expression on it. It's the pieces that go into it that they can look at and connect with. Like, oh, is that an old tractor thing, or is that a coffee can from who knows when, Mm-hmm. But the overall, like, even if it's just like the the position that it's in, or something, the stance, or the body language of what happens with the work when it
Okay.
comes together. So.
Yeah. So you are doing this full time. You're painting, you're sculpting, you're screen printing, you've done photography, you've done a lot of stuff, but I think the bottom line for any artist is to know that it's possible to do your art full time. But you've got to be very diverse if you're going to pull that off. Is that right?
I think you do for quite a while, and you have to be patient with yourself and almost, like for me, I would like to just, be able to just work on the sculpture all the time instead of having to do all these other things. But then again, I still can do these other things. I just don't need to do them in order to make it financially.
And how long have you been independent and without a boss?
Like 12 years or so now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It takes more discipline. You definitely live in times of thick and thin. Like I'll go without power for a month, but then a month after that, be able to take a vacation, and that's cool.
Probably some interesting things coming out of your creations without power.
Well, you simplify, and then when you have power, then you realize how much of it you don't need to actually use. So I'm kind of, I'm into that. I wouldn't say I'm like some total environmental nut. It's just kind of like what my materials happen to be made out of, or like what I happen to use. But yeah, I played in this band for 4 years.
Wow, it just keeps coming. You have such diverse talents.
Well,
artist.
It's a local Eau Claire band, the Evergreen Grass Band. I played with them for 4 years.
Okay,
and,
I know them. They're very good.
When I stopped doing that, it's almost like the floodgates opened for the sculpture, and it just kind of like I just stuck my head in my studio and just started putting things out. And one of the things that was actually collaborated with another artist, I put this goldfish made out of junk metal and such on Water Street. And then this other artist put like some wavy things behind it on the fence. It's kind of cool. So there's that, like just placing things, getting things out, even if they're not, even if they're not new to me, they're new to other people now. So and I think other people enjoy the work enough where it makes it possible and just important for me to just keep working with this stuff and keep going with it. I thought about giving up on it for a while. I wanted to get a real job. That wasn't happening. I may have a lot of skills and diversity, but it's not really what the job market's looking for, or I'm not really what they're looking for right now. But
well, and you're probably not as passionate about some things as you are about your sculpting and your art.
Well, I think some people would, artists in general, they feel they go to school for art and they're like, well, I love painting, but there's no way I'm going to make a living at this. Might as well go into graphic design and kind of have, something else. And now these people are finding that like jobs are being cut and stuff, or whatever, and they're not even able to get a job doing that. And it's like, well, you should have just stuck with your passion, and
right.
Just even if you do it just a tiny bit,
better than nothing.
Yeah.
You don't strike me as the type of guy who could live in a cubicle 8 to 10 hours a day.
Well, I could do anything if I had to, in a sense, but given the choice, I like working with this material. Recycled work, because there's always going to be an abundance of that material. Like I had in my old house that I had to get rid of. I also had 2-car garage full of materials. So I got rid of 6,000 pounds of junk metal.
Wow.
and just said goodbye, you know. But I remember every place I got one of those pieces from. I just had to be like, it's fine, let it go. So
you can create a piece, you can remember where it was, probably creates some emotion for you too when you take a look at your pieces and remember the work that went into them.
Right, or just like a piece that's not even part of something. It's like, I remember where I got that, or somebody gave this to me, or this and that, or, you know, or that's always looked like a duck, and, you know, I never found anything to do with it, but
here it is.
Yeah, it looks like a duck.
Okay, you mentioned the toilet seat. What would you say is the most uncommon component of one of your sculptures? Can you even beat a toilet seat?
You know, that's a good question. Toilet seat's pretty good. But the swan has had to be rebuilt over and over, and even had collaboration of the neighborhood, a couple of neighborhood families come over and bring their wagons and paint and stuff, and we got up there, and local TV station came and did a piece on it, and so it's been in and out of the media over time.
Yep. Where else can we find your pieces that are around the Chippewa Valley?
Well, currently I'm working on, you know, and I do like functional stuff sometimes too, but it's more like it's just, you know, what do people want? What do they need? And this is a wine bottle chandelier I'm making for Charlie's Market, working on right now. But that's purely just a commission. Menominee, there's a couple pieces that I did, like a musky fish and giant flower thing.
Just around town?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Eau Claire, there's the goldfish, there's the swan. There was a 8-foot-tall horse-headed man with a hammer that was in Volume 1 office for a long time. That
sounds appropriate for their office.
That one's actually going to Minneapolis, which is exciting because there's like this little gallery that wants it.
So you're in demand.
Well, I'm now almost booked for a while. I don't know, I would like to talk about Eau Claire in general, as far as it's gotten better as far as a place for artists and musicians to actually afford to create and incubate what they're doing in order to have it be as almost a platform to get it out to the rest of the world.
And I think it's become more accepting within recent years and more possible for people to appreciate it and see it.
It's been frustrating for me a little bit in the sense that the only market I've found for like fine art in this area is kind of a friends and family market. Means people will get into your work and buy it and stuff, but it kind of comes from that, not actually like collectors and such, and people seeking out the work here. But because of the sculpture tour that was brought in, I think that is helping a little bit. And I'm definitely sticking with it for a while and just see what happens. As I am able to have a good base camp here. It's affordable. My kids like to hang out, you know. I got lots of friends around here. And there's live music almost like every night you want to go see some.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's stuff to do around here.
Yep.
So what's the end game for you? Do you want to stay local? Do you want to maintain local ties and stay here?
I would stay local.
I
would stay local, but I would like to do more national, international work. The thing is that I definitely have a couple visions for Eau Claire that are very, very difficult to actually see come into fruition because of the scale and the red tape it would take to make these things happen. But I'm trying to work with more people now who have other talents that I don't really possess, such as like writing their way through those mazes. And so that'd be fun. But yeah, I'm going to be working on a very large project coming up soon, which I'm really excited about. But it's I'm not going to really talk about it much right now because it's just in the beginning phases. But
Sure.
it be a fully interactive piece, one of the largest pieces I've ever made, and have lighting and music or sound.
Wow.
Sound.
Go big or go home.
That's right.
Very cool. Online, I saw a couple of photos of Jester.
Yes.
That's a huge piece. I mean, how tall is that?
Jester is only about 4 feet tall.
Okay.
That's the piece that had some issues while the installation process was going on. It kind of fell over, and I had to put it back together again, and so they deemed it that it was too fragile for public.
Okay.
So it now resides in Pizza Plus behind the bar, and that's cool. It's a nice place for it. People get to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I can be like, okay, I don't need to worry about it now. I can move forward with other stuff I'm working on.
Yep.
But
are you finding that local businesses are very receptive to having you bring in their pieces and they'll put them on display for a while?
it depends on the place.
Sure.
I remember bringing a horseman into when I lived in Menominee. I brought the horseman into the Chamber of Commerce. They're like, yeah, we'll take the horseman, fine, But there was like this. It had kind of a frontal situation going on that they weren't too excited about. So I've constantly got calls from them to fix that. I'm like, well, what do you mean fix it? It's an animal, They don't wear clothes unless you're in Winnie the Pooh. So, and it's recycled stuff and found objects, and so I eventually put a cod piece on it, which was hilarious. But
and did they keep it there?
They weren't really too happy with the cod piece. It really pointed out more than ever, and I was like, well.
How long would you say that it takes you to do an average piece, if there's such a thing?
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it depends on if I have the pieces or if I have to go find the pieces.
Right. Depends how big it is. Depends exactly how detailed you want to be.
Yeah, I've built work in a couple hours. Or sometimes it takes a couple years. So,
okay.
On average, I'd say 2 or 3 months maybe.
Okay.
Something.
And where are you working out of?
I have my studio in like a lower garage in my backyard right now.
Okay. So it's a
working
convenient
out.
Place to go.
Yeah, I've had studios all around this town though. I've lived here for 7 years, and I had a studio where the new children's museum or children's theater is, and that was great. It's a big space, and then we all got a bunch of artist friends together, and we had this alternative thing, and we had like all these artists in there, and got people just coming through there by the droves, and I think they kind of came in and saw that, hey, this place is cool.
Yeah.
It's for sale. Perfect. And I don't really need to be there. I moved on to somewhere else, but it was like, hey, at least that building got the attention it needed.
Right.
And really, really spruced up, taken care of, and creative things are happening out of there left and right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
where were you before Eau Claire?
Moved around the area, Alma, Menominee, and Minneapolis for 5 years. Went to school up there.
Okay.
And before then, I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. So you've kind of stuck to the Midwest?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have no plans of leaving?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's a good base camp. Yeah. Like, I was talking to Aaron, your guy who invited me to do this interview, and telling him about the other things that go on, like the snow sculpting events and stuff in town, and the art things. Helped organize some of that stuff. The snow sculpting, been doing that since like 2002, and go around Michigan or Chicago. We do events there. We even and this has been in the media, that we've done. Our team, the Star of Carvis, we went to Italy, and they put us with 12 different countries, all building different pieces, and
wow,
The first event we took second place. The second event we took first for the U.S. So that was pretty cool.
That's impressive.
And then we got a picture. It was like a ship flying through like clouds with like a little boy flying a ship. But you could actually step in the ship, and we did. We got a picture with the Volume 1 magazine. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so we definitely, I definitely like what's going on here, and even if I can get out there and bring the work out to the world, I still think it's important to still just support what's going on here in the Chippewa Valley. So
give back locally.
Yeah.
Okay. We are almost out of time. Do you have a website? Can people view your pieces? Do you have pieces right now available for people to buy?
They will be able to view my website when I get it back up.
Okay.
Right now I'm just kind of, I do a social networking. It's pretty easy going. I could definitely give you some more information on the website when it comes into play. But I think the thing is everybody should just, even if they don't feel like they can do it for a living, create that they should still do it in any way they can.
That's a great note to end on. Great advice from someone who's been doing it, who's succeeding in doing it, and who doesn't have plans to stop. So.
At this point, I can't.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Good luck with everything.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully things continue to go well for you.
Yeah, if and I'll get you information about contact and stuff.
And I'm sure people can call right here to CTV as well and get your contact info if they want to get in touch with you.
Or it's 308-2970.
Okay.
There
it is. It's out there.
I'm not afraid to share my contact information, because that's what we want to do. We want to get people in contact with each other and bring it all together.
Yep.
So
great. Well, this has been another edition of Artists in the Chippewa Valley. I hope that you have enjoyed listening to Steve Bateman, and we appreciate him being here with us. If you want to be featured on the show, call CTV, and we will make sure that you get some exposure right here on Artists of the Chippewa Valley.
This program was recorded and presented by Chippewa Valley Community Television. Chippewa Valley Community Television is made possible by continuing community support. If you'd like to volunteer or make a donation, you can contact us by calling 715-839-5067 or on the web at www.cvctv.org.